Prophet Muhammad, his family, and his companions. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Okay. I would like to share a profound story that will make you reflect. So just sit back and lend me an ear. So back in 2012, I was introduced to a different world full of color and full of wisdom. Here I was, a young and naive girl from Soweto. Before then, I had no clue about African wax print materials, but I only knew the Ishweshwe fabric, which is widely used for traditional Southern African clothing. I was fascinated about this newfound passion of mine, and I wanted everyone to have the same passion and desire to have it. So I asked Abu Yusuf to bring some dashiki materials and some kente materials from Ghana and sell it to his companions in Johannesburg CBD. In no time, every shop in the CBD was booming, alive with color and spunk with African wax print materials. Of course, the materials were well known, but they were not trending as it was. And we made it trend, alhamdulillah. Now, the big question is, what was my why? My why was my passion, and from that passion, I would like to believe that the following was met. So my presentation is entrepreneurship by means of economic development. How entrepreneurship affects the economy. So productive entrepreneurs can stimulate the economy by creating jobs and new technologies and increasing productivity. The key word here is productive. The only way to be a productive entrepreneur is to be consistent and always fail forward. No matter where the stage of your business is, have the courage to fail forward and have the courage to try all you want and to see the failure as the start and the middle, but never as an end. The roles of entrepreneurs in developing the economy, wealth creation and distribution. The wax print trend had stimulated equitable redistribution of wealth and income in the country to more people and geographic areas, thus giving benefit to larger sections of the society. There was increased gross national product. Many entrepreneurs in different industries created and exploited new opportunities with this trend. Some they created ottomans, some they created different clothing and used it in many ways. There was effective and mobilization of capital and skills, bringing in new products and ideas using the materials. As the African wax print material trended during those years, we were able to create and increase immediate large-scale employment to the unemployed and struggling small businesses, which is a chronic problem for underdeveloped nations. In a nutshell, a simple and passionate idea created numerous opportunities for both small and large businesses. So never doubt your idea. Be bold and be brave. This is the only way to forge resilience and to create opportunities for a sustainable livelihood and future. Entrepreneurs also, we need to understand that they act as a catalyst of change, which results in chain reaction, and this will lead to overall development of an area due to increased demand and setting up more and more units. In this way, the entrepreneurs multiply their entrepreneurial activities, thus creating an environment of enthusiasm for overall development of the area and the standard of living. And in conclusion, development of entrepreneurship is not always spontaneous. It is often affected by environment factors like economic, social, political, and psychological and cultural influences. These factors may have both positive and negative influence on the emergence and development of entrepreneurs. So practical education system should be designed for entrepreneurs in such a way that they are comfortable, self-driven, and motivated to create more jobs. And all entrepreneurs should ask themselves these questions. How do I see the futures? How do my business need to look like to create this future world? And what life do I want to create for myself, my family, and my community? And be adaptable to change, learn new skills, and always start with what you have. Thank you. So basically, this is what I have done in the past and that I'm doing in the future. I've started from nothing, I'm self-funded, but with what I had, I was able to create things like ottomans, I was able to create skin products, tea bags, herbal capsules that are being tested. So you don't have to go for funding to be an entrepreneur. You start with the little that you have, start and grow and be consistent. Yeah, thanks.
True entrepreneurship takes hard work, a lot of perseverance, sleepless nights. Sometimes the banks don't want to even give us overdraft, Brother Mkhize. Can I have two people who will run the two roving mics? One brother for the males and one sister for the females. To please move the roving mic. We are now going to engage the 4 presentations. State your name, where you come from, be brief. Like Khadibang would say in his mother tongue, saya lololol. Don't give us a very long story, straight to the point, crisp. Otherwise, if you don't do that, I'm going to be rude and cut you. So please just be crisp, to the point, state your name, then we ask the questions. But before that, maybe let's give Amir just... You have a question, Oganya, you want to say something? Okay. No, I'll identify the people first. So this side, let's take 3 names first, and then 3 names, and then depending on the time, we will give another round. So Amir, the brother there, Sheikh Naiba. Then I go to the ladies. None. Can I go back to the gentleman? Is there sister there? 1. Anyone? 2. Anyone? 2. Anyone? 1, 2. Go on. Then we'll come back to Baba this side. Tatu Shabam. Topis van the Dran Gooks and Kalich and I play. Amir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm about to ask from anyone, but I think as community leaders, one of the things that we have seen is this failure that we see with the black people in general. I can tell you of many initiatives that have, you know, from your investment, stock fair, we actually wanted to invest in agriculture. They ridiculed us, you know, they laughed at us as if, you know, we're living in an old age situation. Also, we had crowdfunding that you spoke about. we are not, it's not coming right. So, or, you know, and also supporting the existing businesses within the black Muslims. The issue of performance, it becomes a problem. But Awana is wearing a cap there. There's I want to support so that it just was a huge failure. What needs to be done, the panelists can maybe try and advise us on how to tackle such issues because they've been troubling us for many. We've tried many projects and unfortunately, the last one, when we had a meeting, I think Brother Hussein Isop at Sanzaf, they showed us the statistics of all.
It looks like the entrepreneurs that are not funded, the self-funded ones, like Iman, are the ones who are staying here. Baijan them. Before, brother, and just introduce yourself from where you come.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, my name is Mohammed Yassin from Makazeni in Mpumalanga. These activities of Islam, I'm too much happy when I see my color. I accept Islam on 1990, but that is not a question. But what I'm requesting from the ulama that next time when they plan for future, they must bring they must try and bring the conference at Mpumalanga, brothers and sisters. Inshallah, at Mpumalanga, brothers, because at Mpumalanga, that is a shame because we are struggling there. So inshallah, if you guys can bring the conference at Mpumalanga just to come and put your feet at Mpumalanga, maybe million of people that can become a Muslim. Jazakallah, brothers and sisters.
Jazakallah, there's the birding is happening now. Birding is happening. Salam to brother Neba, salam to. Yes, Eben. Okay. Okay, that other mic on the ladies, whilst we are roving this side, let's just switch it off, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, also when you ask questions, please ask to the relevant topics on the table because now birding is happening. I can. Amir Sab, I hope you are listening. Mpumalanga is ready for conference, inshallah. Okay.
Unfortunately, man, we didn't prepare for the fourth speaker. We're told that after the three speakers, there will be question and answer. So we only prepared for those three. So, but I think the presentation of the fourth speaker was very wonderful. It was practical and simple, and I think we need to learn from it. But coming to the three panelists. Well, first, my name is Neba Salamtu. Ndingumxhosa, umadunu nokhala ujiyana ukubevu, tsuke bhayi mina. Yeah, ndifike namhlanje ke nxa yemeko, but ke I think I got the gist. The first question, I've got one question. Brother Xolani, his English, is almost that level of the academia. And I think most of us must have lost him, or must have lost us. I don't know which one. But I just wanted him only on the second thing. Maybe the first part, we can discuss and engage on that one. But on the crowdfunding, I think Sheikh Zaid has mentioned also that one. I need him to elaborate more on the crowdfunding thing because we've got Stockfell issue. What's the difference between crowdfunding and Stockfell? And he said they've got a pilot project. Maybe he can give us a practical example of that. So the second question is with for Sister Fatima. I thought she's closer because she's Tandeka. My sister is Tandeka. Yeah. So she mentioned something which I was very much worried. You know, she said that from an Islamic point of view, there is no place for women empowerment, as Islam has since the beginning preached equality. You know, I remember when I was chased out of one mosque in PE, my last khutbah there, they told me I mustn't come and preach again there, was that it is nonsense for Muslims to always say that no, Islam liberated women 1400 years ago, because women have been oppressed in Islam by Muslims for the last 1400 years ago. So I need to get clarity on that statement, sister. And then I think the last one was by Brother Mkize. Brother Mkize came with a very typical, practical example of how social responsibilities has been taken serious by the business people, not only now, but in the time of the Sahabas also. I like the example that they gave, but my question is one. We've got an example here of one brother of mine from my area who has been supported by Muslims. He did his, actually didn't even have metric, but they managed to support him. He got his metric, he got his PA, BA, honors, up to PhD. The first thing he did when he graduated as a doctor, he left Islam. And my question is, even among ourselves on a slower scale, when some of us, they become self-reliant, independent, start to get jobs, they disappear from the Muslim sphere. In what way can we really give, but don't expect products like those? How can we avoid that? Shukran.
Fellow comrade of mine from the Azanian People's Organization. Thank you, Sheikh Neba. Can we go to the ladies and then we allow the panelists to ask?
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Farhana. I actually have a question for four of the speakers, and okay, three, and then a four for the last speaker. Okay. My first question is to the first speaker. You were talking about you have a background in science, technology, coding, and all of that stuff. So I wanted to know that we are here to trying to bring and impose change. What kind of changes is it that you, as an individual or as a communal with the people you're aligned with, are bringing to the community in terms of that science and technology and yeah, all of that laser cutting and all of that stuff? Because I am from a training background. So in the community that I was training, I think most opportunities were given to girls. So yes, women empowerment should be there, but we have forgotten boys because most of my students were boys. The community that I was within, they were empowering girls with computer literacy and all of that. So every male figure that came to they just wanted to, so what opportunities is it that you bring to the boys? I'm all for women empowerment, but I have a son myself, so I'm paving the way for them too. See, so I wanted to know what is it that you are bringing, because I want to bring coding into my community to be for everyone from foundation phase, not only just for those who have reached the mature age. Yeah, that's one. Okay, and two, for the second speaker, in terms of farming and wanting to bring those from I don't know anything about agriculture, I don't want to lie, but instead of feeding the people, what skills is it that you are giving to the people? You know, because it's easy for people to come to your community with food parcels and just let's feed the the poor communities and all that. But what skills is it that you are bringing to them? Yes, we may say that we are empowering them, we are teaching them how to farm, but we should just be honest that most Black people don't have the financial literacy to actually be entrepreneurs. We do not have that. You might say, I'm starting a business, I'm selling all my vegetables here, but 6 months' time, all that stock is gone because you don't have that financial literacy to actually be that entrepreneur. And not everybody here is built to be an entrepreneur. And our education system, unfortunately, is also failing us for they teaching us how to be employees rather than employers. You see. So that is number 2. And number 3, the CSI. Because you were quite brief, so I'll also be brief in my question. And the community that I'm from Pretoria, by the way, in Skososh. So the community that I'm from, it does not really push CSI. It will go to that Indian hardware and say, oh, brother, I have this, and that. And say, Bismillah, But what kind of CSI opportunities is it that we are giving to the community? I'm not about having everything for free. I would like for this SABMC to actually actively change our mindset, not just to be here, be all talk and listen and go home and say, oh, that was a nice speech. Oh, I wish we could do more. But actively doing something to actually change the community from the foundation phase. If we teach our children from the foundation phase that, you know what, this is the industrial revolution and this is the direction that we're taking. Let's start with this. This are the things that were taken out of the education system, your farming, your sowing, all that stuff that are teaching you to actually empower yourself. They were taken out. What is it that we should be bringing back? I would actually like to see that change. Yeah.
Jazakallah, sister.
Yeah. I'll come to you. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ka lebitso ke nna Halima Mashaba go tswa Mokopane, Limpopo. Ne ke tlo bolela ka Sepedi ka re George ya balega. Ke tlo botsisha sesola se Sithandeka Fatima. Re na le bana ba banyana. Obvious sesola na botsisha o tsere most at dipotso jaaka. Nna ke into girls ka lebaka la gore ke mma go bana ba bararo ba banyana. So ke tlo bolela bona. Go ya le ka mogone o bolela ka di coding ka gona. Ne re gopela gore le rena o re include like maybe matšatši a gone le bo Zoom o kana wa create di program for rena re leng fa wa re invite ra attend di program tšeo le bana ba rena ba banyana. Then wa ruta mo ka technology o ka lebaka la gore bana ba rena ba dutse ba berekisha di Wi-Fi tša rena tše dingwe tša re tsebo rena ba di berekisha ba diang. So ge le include di program tše di so tša go tla le wena as a Muslim sister o apere hijab, I mean o se Mokopane mara o kgona go bonagala o le mo Gauteng or wherever o leng gona. Then ba kgona go kwisha gore okay go ne le Islam around the world ka lebaka la gore ba kgona go communicate le lena. So nna ya ka taba ke gore coding eo ne re kgopela gore please e dire as program and then o re invite ge ile gore maybe o nyaka di patela okay re tla patela mara ne ke kgopela gore e benefite bana ba rena ba ma Muslim especially ba banyana because most of the time ba spend ba le ka interneteng and re ka se ba blame ka lebaka la gore COVID ke yone e introducing to this taba ya di Wi-Fi le di cell phone most of the time. So from ECD nna ke bereka ka bana ba banyane from ECD, and obvious ke bereka ka bana ba banyane le basadi obvious, mara ge coding eo e ka la ya tla e re ntse re bereka le bana ba banyane, we can include it, so more ba tlo fetsa nako e ntši ba e tla kae mo ba ka humanang internet gona. Obvious wena o le speaker o le Gauteng o ba introduce to this coding, and it have a benefit in this dunya, and inshallah the hereafter. Jazakallah.
Tobel. Aba kwele. Bal kwele. Mzula. Yeah. If you don't understand what the lady was saying in Northern Soto, the brother next to you, sister next to you will translate to you, inshallah. Now, I better get closer. Maybe let us, if there's no other one who has got a point that you want to make with regards to that, maybe what we can do is some of the issues we can reserve them. When we are at the commissions, then we can be able to engage some of the speakers who will be in the commission as resource people, so we can engage them further at that level, so that we find these discussions that we are having, and then we take them into the reports. And then tomorrow, inshallah, when we the commissions report, we then report about that, and they become resolutions of conference, and then we take them forward, inshallah, as work in progress. There's one brother I'm going to allow; he'll be the last. And then I give to the speakers. And then after the speakers have spoken, when we break, we must first make dhuhr, the facilities where we made Juma yesterday. We'll make dhuhr there, and then we'll have lunch. The other announcements, we will then make them just before we break. Can we give the mic there to the back? I hope the brothers and sisters next to those who didn't understand Pedi can just translate to them, inshallah. Next time when the SABMC has enough resources, we'll have translation services, inshallah. Say Ameen.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
My name is Blacks. I'm a Xhosa. I have a question for the banker. Let me give a little bit of reference. Banking is about money. And you didn't give us quite some, you didn't give us an overall picture of how money is made, because the reason why we are in poverty is because of money. We know Islam, we always equate money to something else. You pay zakah in gold, you give so much. You pay it in silver, you give so much. You pay it in rice, whatever, you give so much. But when it comes to money in nowadays, you don't explain to us. For instance, there is a book that is called the Federal Reserve System. In the Federal Reserve System, they don't state, they state that money is actually made when you go and make a loan. So it's actually money made out of nothing. So we are all here talking about farming, which is hard work, for something that is worth nothing. I think we need to dwell on that so that we can see the fruits of our sweat. Because the people who are making money, they are not sweating, but we are sweating for what they give us, which is not money. And after all, I don't see a difference between the 100 rand I'm having and the toilet paper, because it's not, the 100 rand is not worth the ink it's written with. So I would like us to take us to that aspect of how money is created.
Siyabule. Enkos. The real last one there, and then we close.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Hashim Posa. I've got few intervention and also questions for both speakers.
Just keep it brief, brother.
Yes, I'm going to be brief. First of all, let's start with the sheikh from agriculture there. I don't know whether do we go to be agriculture in the book or we go to implement it. So we must come with the strategies that we go to implement the system of agriculture. Because in this moment, African Muslim, they are not involved in anything that empower the Muslim community. Every time you see the black person, they see him as a beggar. If he's a Muslim, let's take it out. Let's go to the sister there. The sister was talking about technology. And then technology, if you make a research about Islam way back of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nabi used to send people to go and spy, but not exactly a spying, is to get more information. How big the scope that you have to empower young women and young South African who are Muslim so that they can implement the system in the community. Because to talk is very easy, but to implementation is difficult. Let's not finish talking every day, but let's implement what we are saying. Let's go to another one. Another sister was talking the background of Alhamdulillah, you done to be entrepreneur. How many people who are interested in entrepreneur to be employer, or how many people to be employed? We are interested not to be into entrepreneur, to be employed. So as a Muslim, we must go in database and check what kind of a people we are building. What kind of a black people that we want them to own the economy of this country. Don't forget that we are running in the same country that the Kufar also, or the non-Muslim, because Kufar is somebody who declared that I'm not want to be a Muslim. We run in the same country, that we must enjoy the roots of this country, but as a Muslim, implement and explore.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I will allow the speakers. I'll start by the uncle. Then it goes like that. Then last phases.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I see the person who owns the first question is not here, so I'm not sure how I'm going to be helpful to him, but I will come back to that. Perhaps he'll be here. First, I think, Butomkulu, I must apologize if I flew too high. I was not aware because you'll be surprised that I don't even have metric myself. My first job, I was selling newspapers in the street. And the second formal job, I was a messenger in a company, but I was able to pull myself by my own bootstrap. If you go to my LinkedIn site, you'll see there, I've graduated from the University of Hard Knocks. That's where I learned. So I'll be surprising myself if I speak even English that if I apologize. But let me first address the issue of why do we fail? Why do projects fail? And that there were young people who were put into agriculture and they failed. Sometimes as people and leaders, we even drag people into failure. Because if you bring young people into a project, you yourself, you have not researched, you don't understand, how will it not fail? In business, there's what is called an ecosystem. An ecosystem means you have put certain things in place that gets everything together. Let me give you an example. If you had brought those young people into an agriculture project, have you created a model that once they've harvested, do you create a market for them? That's part of the ecosystem. Have you tried to also put the necessary tools that assist them and what is called enablers? So it is important that when we do something, you yourself, you must have tried. I spoke about agri-villages earlier, if you remember, and I told you that the fact that we've got 2 pilot projects. So one is Mkanduli and Udiliz in Daba, particularly. One is in Northwest. We are doing a pilot project exactly because if you want people to believe, you must have done it yourself. You must be able to say, this is a proof of concept, this thing work. And you bring the necessary things together. Of course, we know that as Africans, we have not been in agriculture, and therefore, I myself as a business person, my strength is that I know what my weakness is. So I'm not gonna go to anyone and talk about agriculture because I was born in Orlando West Extension. So I've never been a farmer. But to give confidence even to myself, I've brought in Afrikaners around me. We are partners who bring different skills. You have to know what core competencies Bindoni efunekayo for you to succeed in this specific industry. Without core competencies, you cannot compete. You build the necessary skills. So if you have never been to agriculture, but you are calling young people in agriculture, you are causing them to fail. So you need to be able to have practiced that which when you want other people. One thing that fails in this country is the lack of leadership, both in business and politics. People don't know how to do economic development. You can't do economic development without the necessary tools of development. You must know as a leader, what are those key things? Someone actually said, do we teach people agriculture? I'm not an agriculture person, but we're putting a pilot program that is going to have an agriculture training center with an agrarian scientist, with agronomist. We're going to put a hub, which we call agri-resource center and mechanization. So there are seedlings, there's compost, there are insecticides, there are harvesters, all the necessary, and the tractors. We put them in that hub, and then we get a farm manager to manage that so that people in the next 3 years, they can learn. I'm also learning, along the way. So it's important that we do a pilot. When you do something, do a pilot and know what is it that needs to be done and what is the outcome that you are expecting. As an example, because the markets are there and our people don't have, we have, for instance, concluded a memorandum of agreement, an MOU with Tiger Brands, who is ready to buy those goods. Because there's got to be a market, and that's the only way that it will succeed. So in our pilot projects, we'll partner with them, we'll partner with local spaza shops and your shop rights for them to buy them. But you must create that eco system and make sure that you yourself are not going to fail. If you fail, you will fail because there is failure, but don't start without putting a simple model that you yourself must understand. And sometimes you must also say, I don't know this thing, so I can't do it. A few years ago, this young man playing for Kaizer Chiefs, Uspiwe Shabalala, came to my office. He said I must assist him he wants to set up a foundation, and And I said, you know, you've come to the address if you want to Orlando Pirates, to Chiefs. You know, but I said to him, do you have sufficient money to start a foundation? Because when you start a foundation, you must have succeeded in what you want to do. You have the necessary resources if you have a foundation, because having a foundation means you're going to give money free. You are going to support specific. So I said, you must focus. If you wanted a foundation, maybe do a soccer foundation, teaching people the skill of soccer. But if you want foundation, you're going to create interest about doing it that you cannot fulfill. I said, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm going to discourage you. But you say, you have 10 million rands you have set aside to want a foundation. Because most people who are functional, like batteries, they do it out of their profits. So you can't do a foundation and the next thing, you can't even pay for your own installment of a car. Now, those people you have promised, you're not going to fulfill, and it's going to be a failure. So I think it's important that we understand what I call you must put your ducks in the row in order you can have your chicken in the oven. That's what you need, I think, to do. And the other thing also is that those very young people who want to put into agriculture, do you know what their needs are? You need to do a needs analysis. You need to do a skills analysis. What skills do they have? What are they good at? What strength do they have? You do that skills analysis so that the people can use the skills. Because the best skill you can ever use is the one skill that you yourself that you have. You know, if you want to open a salon and you have never done hairdressing like I did, I had a salon, but I made sure that I have the best people around me. And I learned, you know, from them. So it's important that you do a pilot program and you put all the things you want to achieve and what your outcome is, and have all the dependencies together. And I hope I've sort of answered some of your questions. Now come to crowdfunding. A lot of people, when they do crowdfunding, because you are asking other people to give you money and they place faith on you. That's what you do when you do crowdfunding, because it's a stokvel of a different kind. Now, let's look at the stokvel. I belong to a burial society, which we started with 50, started in 1992. It's actually 30 years this year. But we had an object. We trusted in each other that masingcwabane. So there's what we wanted to do. You know, we started 50 members, half of them have passed on. And we've also never failed in our objective, abazali and people who are beneficiaries. But we have an objective and you can meet the objective. But when you do crowdfunding, now people must place their faith in you and hope you will succeed. So the type of crowdfunding that you are doing, there has to be an asset that people are convinced. I mean, there are people who have started property stokvels, but there was no property. So you must be able yourselves to even say our own properties, we're putting them as stock. And then we're putting money, we'll go and rent somewhere, but we can even sell our own property as part of the stock. So you have an asset. If you are 10, okay, my house is 250,000, this one is 350,000 and so on. Then you trade on that. So the money people use as an example, therefore, they know that we have 10 houses, which is ours, but we're renting them out. And then every month we're going to earn so much. So crowdfunding, there must be an asset. Part of what we are doing is that on our pilots, we want to develop agricultural land and we want to create the market. So we're saying we need money to fund it. And this is going to be the return. So that people have got faith, people want to grow their money. People make a choice. Do I want my money to be in ABSA? What is the interest? But if you're coming to us as a crowdfunding, we are saying here there will be property that will be bought, and these are the projections in terms of the dividends you're going to get, so your money is going to grow. So there's got to be an asset ngapanzi that you are using. So we have identified a number of areas. One of them is retail. We want to have our own retail brand in our townships. We want to develop what we call macro retailers. People have the stores and we help them to get stock cheaper and all of this, and people buy from their own network. And imali cooler. And it's important also to, when you bring young people for the project, there's what is called low-hanging fruits. What is it that you can do quickly? You know, you can buy, I mean, I used to sell eggs, go to the farm, buy 2 boxes. Now you go next door, you buy these eggs. And the next time you're gonna buy 20 boxes, the next time, you know, these little things that you can grow, but you start with little things. And I think I've answered them. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sister Fatima. You know, to be a farmer is not an easy thing, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. There's a saying in the farming community from where I come where they say, to be a farmer, they moet harap jou tande het, which loosely translates means, if you want to be a farmer, you must have hair on your teeth. It's not the most glamorous thing to do in farming, but it's rewarding in 2 aspects. It's a lifestyle that is driven by passion, and it has got economic spin-offs.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah for the opportunity to clarify on a few things. Ngiyabonga Tata for a question. So your question was really around women empowerment and its place, right? And the statement that I made, it really comes from a place where I believe, and this is my opinion, that women empowerment is a response. It's a response to the oppression that has happened, you know, globally, where women have not had the ability and the opportunity to reach their full potential. So as a response measure, women have organized themselves and said, we want to be at a level playing field. Now, what's also happened is that there are other terms that are out there that have both positive, and this is the intention, so I think that clarifies the intention, but there are other movements that we are seeing that have a similar objective but have negative implications. Part of those implications is what the sister mentioned there, to say, suddenly we are so focused on getting women to a level where they can stand on their own feet to overcome some of the structural injustices. But what happens is that our boys get left behind, which is why I said that from an Islamic point of view, my view is that we empower people according to their strengths. And that is why we actually, and maybe let me qualify, we believe in gender equity, which is natural justice. You know, so we are equal in the eyes of Allah, obviously from a worship point of view, but He has designed us different, which is why I think even in my speech, I aimed to clarify the importance of both genders in the process, because there are certain things that we have that we can add value in society, and in the same breath, there are certain things that men have that they can help to empower us. So it's a collective effort. But what we do, because some of those gaps are still there, right? Because even in South Africa, education, all those problems still exist. So as women, we do organize ourselves to help each other, right? So, and I'm going to try and address a few questions at the same time. I hope that clarifies. Okay, so maybe moving on to the next question, which was the lady from Pretoria. I think she asked me 3 questions. The first one was to say, how am I contributing with whatever knowledge or access I have? And then the other one was about boys. And the last one, I think you'll have to remind me. But in my own capacity, and maybe let me share a little bit of background. So my experience is in technology. What I do is in the technology space, but my training is actually in finance. So when I finished school, I went and I did a BCom finance. So my intention was to become a chartered accountant, like many people in my generation, right? When we finished school, we thought, no, we need to become CAs and we can make money, But again, just in terms of following where opportunities are, it was a very saturated and very, very competitive as well. You have to reach a certain level to be able to thrive and be the best. So, and this is why I emphasize to say, let me just highlight the opportunities that are growing and emerging in the technology space, because as much as I had trained to pursue a field in finance, but I found opportunity and I have managed to grow within the technology space. So my personal expertise are actually in building businesses. So what I do is I assist multinational US-based companies to grow and find routes to market in South Africa. So what that involves is collaborating with local South African IT companies and ensuring that we're able to, sell the technology, get engineers to support the whole ecosystem. So actually my expertise is really around business development. But because I'm in the field, I definitely have access to different kinds of people, and this is enterprise technology. But with my expertise, I am in a position to work with the organizations that I'm already a part of. So, and maybe let me answer in terms of what I'm doing today. So, I'm part of several organizations as it is now. One of them is an organization called Muslima on Call. So that is the organization that had collaborated with a lot of other Muslima organizations to launch the last mass Eid that we had in Johannesburg. So I'm part of the EXCO with the group of ladies, and that is what we're doing. So we start where we are with what we have. So platforms that like this obviously now encourage us to say, okay, what else can we do? And inshallah, we will get to the point where, and again, we have to start with, it's a mix. We take care of basic needs, and of course we have to be forward looking and see sort of how do we then ready our youth and ourselves to be able to compete at the same time. So it's going to be a balance between, okay, and maybe answering the lady from Elimpopo, absolutely, I think there's a place. So when we look at our initiatives, and it's not just Muslim Amco, there's a few others, organizations that I'm aware of and I'm a part of, where we are building year plans from a social development perspective. So now, definitely, we're going to include, some of the skills empowerment programs, technology, and other things. There's another organization that I'm a part of where they are teaching children to knit their own hats, So in parallel to those, we can do so many things, The possibilities are endless. We just have to focus, we have to group, and we have to collaborate. Okay, I hope that clarifies.
And how to bring those type of things to the rural areas, like Limpopo, Northern Cape, Free State, via the technological, or you wanted to?
Amaf, sorry, I needed to just inform the ladies that in August we are holding a Women's Day program. It's Muslim on Call, and it's going to be in collaboration with other women. So that is where we can really get, dig in, and get to the detail of what we want to do. Inshallah. So we will meet there, we will communicate.
I was saying, sister, at the commission level, maybe we can further interrogate the issue of how to bring some of the programs to the people who are in far-flung areas, KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, via the technology, like she was mentioning Zoom and things like that, how we can do that, create links, start a program. Even the very Women's Day event, how we can stream it live. And in the same breath, while we talk about streaming live, the conference is being streamed live by Salam Media. You can follow them. You can tell your people back home if they want to follow the conference, they can follow it on the various social media platforms of Salam Media. And we also want to say that that collaboration of the Muslima on Call is also happening with the SABMC. Through the communications and marketing desk, actually the Muslim on Call people has really helped us with part of the communication and taking out the various media statements, and so Jazakallah, that those type of collaborations are key, and we also welcome them to the SABMC. Iman.
Okay. He was one of the first customers to buy the materials. Are you happy? Okay, Assalamu alaikum. I think one of the questions that was asked is why most of the small businesses fail, especially in Soweto. That's a hard one, but okay, so I've got a small business and I'm also a professional, but my passion mostly is creating stuff using African resources. So what I've realized since I've started this role of having my own products, right now I'm doing a courier service app, working with some guys. What I've realized that we don't have systems in place as entrepreneurs. And if you don't have any system in place, nothing is going to happen, because you can have the best awesome idea, best awesome service or product, but if you don't know how to sell it, and if you don't know how to price it, and if you don't know how to put it in the market, nothing will happen, because at the end of the day, starting a business is to make a profit. Yes, you must have passion, and yes, you must be consistent, but if your systems are not in order, then nothing is gonna happen. But Alhamdulillah, we in SA, we have government organizations and platform where they can teach us on how to create systems. And also as a black Muslim woman who's an entrepreneur and who's been there starting from nothing, taking my salary to buying that printer, taking my salary to buying that MTD bags, a tea bag sealer and everything. I know how it is to start something from nothing. But we can create platforms or workshops for both men and women, because I'm a mother of boys, and it's very frustrating to see that everything is for women. And when our offsprings grow up and get married, obviously they will feel oppressed as men, because the women are so high level in terms of their education and whatever knowledge they have. But I would love to see men take over, start workshops for boys as they grow. Teach them anything, even if they are aspiring to become doctors or Hafiz or Quran or whatever, but teach them skills like motor mechanics, carpentry, plumbing, because tomorrow those skills will assist you. A practical example, when I was retrenched, I was able to take care of my offsprings because I was able to sell my products. I didn't beg, I didn't go to anyone, I just took what I had and make money from it. So I would like to see that happening, especially to our boys and the men taking over, because we cannot teach boys how to be men. We cannot teach them how to be plumbers or anything. But you guys have the skills to do that and to create programs for them as well, so that they can feel that they are not left out. And they can create anything that they can, inshallah. I think there was another question from Uprada Musa when he asked about, I'm not sure, if you don't want to be an entrepreneur and you want to be an employee, is that? Oh, they discussed it. Okay, I think, yeah, I just wanted to say that, guys, we can be anything you want to be. And as an entrepreneur, you don't have to give up. I started in 2012, but I don't have R1 million in my account. So, and I'm still failing forward and finding my niche. So you just need to know what is it that you want to do and have a vision, and don't give up if that vision doesn't happen that time. But if you don't understand, go to those that do and ask them. If you don't know how to do price a product, go to platforms like social media. There's Google now. You can Google and ask, and then they will give you platforms where you can where they can teach you how to create a system, how you can teach Excel sheet for creating a budget, and many more. So yeah, I think we are, as Tandega said, as Muslims on Code, we're going to create platforms and collaborate with SABMC and many other organizations so that we can grow as the Muslims of South Africa. Thank you.
Did you say failing forward? Very interesting. So inshallah, one day it will be a pass, inshallah.
Shukran for the question. So, brothers and sisters, I'm going to try and be brief so that we get into the meat of the stuff we spoke about. So the first question was this idea of high failure rates of projects. And I think the Amir indicated number of initiatives that have failed. I suppose, like all things in life, right, is that I think the sister mentioned it very well, is that unless you have supporting systems and infrastructure and support, maybe with professionals or people who have walked the path, supporting the plan that is being proposed, chances are when you encounter difficulties, you will easily give up, right? So it's a question of ensuring that whatever initiatives that come up, reach out to people with knowledge and skills to see to what extent we can support in order to ensure that no, these things don't fail. You know, so in business, what we do when we do projections, for instance, for the financial year 2022, if we have a plan that we want to increase our business, maybe in terms of lending of X amount of billions per year, in that provision, whatever loans we write, we also prepare that a certain percentage, either 1% or 2% on average, those businesses will fail. It's a factor of life. So what it means, in our planning, in our effort, just because some businesses will fail or some initiatives will fail, doesn't mean that you must throw them away. Doesn't mean you must not try. You know, it means that some will fail, but most of them, through learnings and support and focus and hard work, most of them will succeed. And I guess that's where we need to go. Sheikh, when I'm in the Eastern Cape or Western Cape, early hours of the morning when I drive, I listen to your program. Shukran for all the hard work that you do on radio. Really appreciate it. It helps, and I see people calling and responding. And I think your piece around now, I think you can rest assured that you know, Allah you know, will reward you for that, because nobody does that like you do. Thank you. And then yeah, I'm the one in here. Yeah. So then to your point around maybe somebody that gets assisted to the levels of PhD and then they give up, right? So same principle, Sheikh, is that just because that brother didn't make it or decided otherwise, we can't give up. You know, many others succeed, and then and we know that only Allah gives us hidayat, right? So if a person moves away from the hidayat, you know, we can only pray and wish them that they come back. Hopefully, maybe they come back, but we can't give up. That option we don't have. So I think we must just keep that spirit and support more people to do that. And then I think the last question there was around. So I am not talking about finance and money. Unfortunately, I was not invited to speak about that. But My details are with the organizers. If you're willing to engage further on that, I'm happy to, to get involved, assist, engage, because I don't want to consume the time of the conference for that, but, we can help each other to bridge some of those gaps. And then to the sister around what must be done in terms of supporting in communities and what, like all things in life, right? So when you walk into talk about communities, particularly Muslim communities and also other communities, you go there with an open mind because you don't want to come there as a savior having the answers for all the problems of the communities because you don't live there. You don't understand their challenges, circumstances, etc. All you can do is to listen, understand what do they do, what initiatives are in place, what are the gaps, and then on the basis of that, you can then respond. Because, to come from Johannesburg and come to your area and assume that, A, B, C, and D, this must be done, we miss it there. In fact, you create more disappointment than anything else. So what I encourage people to do when it comes to community projects, to go and listen and understand so that even if you're making commitments, you're making commitments on things that are going to make a difference because you assume that you've got an answer for stuff. It doesn't work. I have a personal lived experience from a place I grew up from, which is Kwamash, right? So I go there, I do my little bit of social work here and there, but when there are challenges, when I want to ask some difficult questions, I do, but I also hold back because I also want to make sure that I don't impose myself to that place because I'm not there every day. I don't understand their challenges now. I might come from there, but I have to be very guarded with regards to projecting my own, stereotypes, just because I think I'm in the know, right? So it's very important, all of us, that when you go and try and do community work with communities, work from their perspective on what makes sense to them, on what they want to do. Only then you can support them because they know half of the time you're not going to be there. When you're not there, if it's your idea, then what happens, right? So it's very important that we reflect around some of those things. Then the last point is that the brothers were were very receptive to the idea that maybe perhaps it does not necessarily be on the traditional schools. It doesn't have to be medicine. It doesn't have to be science. It doesn't have to be accounting. Maybe on areas of opportunities, we can maybe start to saying next year we've got 5 bursaries. Each of which is worth 50,000 rand. Is 250,000 rand as a start, or as an ambition, or as a goal? Where do we start? And there was an idea that at the table at the back there, if you think you have the means or the idea you want to support the concept, whatever you have, the ask is that you do a pledge. Put your name and your telephone number and the amount of money that you want to put in terms of this, because we always accuse ourselves to saying we talk a lot and it's nice. After that, so what, right? So we're putting a challenge to saying if you think you have something that you can do in the course of 2022 between now and November of this year, this is an X amount of money that you are willing to contribute to support educational programs for the people that have organized the conference. Put your number and your name and your contact details into the back. There was a brother at the back. Maybe brother, can you stand up? Yeah, so there was a challenge saying the brother said there's a bag there, one of these bags. We'll put your details in, your contact details, your number. If you've got cash, you can put cash. And if you've got a pledge, put it there. At the end of the conference, maybe today, the brothers will tell us how much, did we manage to mobilize? Because then you put your money into the action, right, as opposed to talking. And I've also committed to say, as part of putting the challenge, I'm also willing to participate there. Once I know how much has been raised, I will pronounce. I'll call the brothers tomorrow because I need to rush out after this and say how much was done, and then we can help each other to do these things. The reason why I also feel strong about these things, but in the work that I do, we spend millions and millions of rand every year in supporting educational programs. They're not obviously for sure, they are not for Muslim, they're not dedicated to Muslim work, but they're dedicated to Black South Africans who need to further their education so that the country should be in the right hands in terms of skilled people. So we do it. So what I'm talking about is stuff that we do every day in terms of social work. One good example I'm going to give you is that because of the influence I have in the place where I work, we managed to raise in excess of 10 million rands just to support water projects. And we get on the plane, we get into hospital, we transport water. The hospital, for a period of 2 weeks, we made sure that there's water in Mshieni, there's a water in King Edward, there's water in these strategic areas, because those are the people that Allah has created. Just because they're non-Muslim, it doesn't take away our responsibility in terms of helping and showing up in building the country that we live in. So what I'm just saying, these are some of the practical things. They don't take anything away from you, but all it does, once you start to get into the culture of giving and supporting, I can guarantee you the barakat will come. You know, maybe sometimes we miss out on the sweetness of barakat because sometimes those of us who have means, we take. Maybe it's time that we walk the opposite route. But I'm also, when I say that, I also know not all of us are well-resourced, right? Some brothers need and sisters need help, and it's okay because, you know, it's life. That's a reality. And I'm just saying, where there are people that we know that need help, we must help them. But if we have the means to give, don't run away from the barakat. Give. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Faisal Mkhize. Indeed, we have now come to the end of this very insightful part of our program. We'll be now breaking for Dhuhr Salah, and from there we will have lunch. So now the time is 10 past. What end is that? For the money. All right. Can that initiative there be further engaged with Brother Aslam Mwepe? Mokone, maybe if you can just stand up so that the people can see he's the head of finance in the SABMC. Where is he? Ogai Mahed. Oh, he's not in the conference, he's probably somewhere outside. That initiative may be in collaboration with Secretariat. I can see Brother Thabit, Secretariat as well as finance people of the SABMC, just so that it's coordinated well, inshallah. Jazakallah. We will now break for Adhan will go off now. Then we'll make Jamaat 25 past. We'll give you 15 minutes to make wudu. 25 past we'll make Jamaat. And then from Jamaat we have lunch. And we do our best to be back in a conference at promptly at 14:30, inshallah. Can we do that, inshallah? Barakallahu fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.